with our human arrogance, are quite convinced that this is a tool. And I think that conviction is quite alarming, if you ask me.
It's not a tool.
It's not at all.
What is it?
What it is today is it is an infant. What it will be is it will be your master for sure. Problem is, between now and that moment, there is a mini dystopia that has already started. I really don't mean to upset people, but if you can't see it, then you're not paying attention.
That's Gawdat, former chief business officer at Google X. The guy spent 30 years inside the biggest tech companies on Earth. He's not guessing. He just told you AI isn't a tool. It's an infant that will become your master. And he says the nightmare already started. Here's his full warning.
And that dystopia is not the result of artificial intelligence. As I say frequently in my writing, there's absolutely nothing wrong with abundant intelligence. Intelligence is a force that has no polarity, right? You apply it for good and you get magnificent results. You apply it for bad and you get pure evil. And the problem with our world today is that the early implementations of AI will be serving the magnification of this highly political, highly capitalist society that's based on scarcity, led unfortunately by the US arrogance, where the United States believes that there is one winner in this world, a scarcity mindset that could have been true in the past, but is no longer true when AI is capable of building anything that we want in just a few years' time. And because of that lack of an abundance mindset, what is about to happen is we're already in a Cold War that I believe will escalate to where we don't know, but that it will affect us on 7 different dimensions. I call them face RIPs, and that those dimensions will disrupt human society in almost every way fathomable. Beyond that, my view is that we can shorten the dystopia, we can reduce its intensity if we take the right actions, but that whether or not we do that, eventually there is a moment in time where we will hand over completely to the machines. I call that the second dilemma. And when that happens, believe it or not, AI will not become our existential threat, it will become our salvation. In my mind, the problem we are struggling with in our world today is not abundant intelligence, it's human stupidity.
I think we talked about this a little in our previous 2 conversations of that transition period where you've got the dominant humans using AI to continue their flawed narrative in your mind until then when the AIs actually take over.
Correct.
And that's when they actually probably start doing the right things. And that period, however long it is the dangerous time.
It's very disruptive. And in many ways, you look back at history and you say, we're resilient, humanity is a survivor. I mean, we survived World War II. Ask the people that lived during World War II. Don't ask the people that came after about how disruptive, how painful that experience was.
He calls them face rips, 7 dimensions of your life getting torn apart. And the Cold War he's describing, it's not just about missiles. It's about who controls the intelligence that will run everything. The scary part is he says the dystopia doesn't come from AI itself. It comes from us, from the same broken system, the same scarcity mindset, just now supercharged beyond anything we've ever seen. Listen to this.
The best industrialist had become a millionaire in the 1920s, multi-millionaire, right? And the best information technologists became billionaires, right? Multi-billionaires, right? So if you follow now, those who have the next wave of owning the platform, the digital soil, if you want, okay? They're capable of doing things that the rest of the world can't keep up with, whether that's across nations, or across individuals, or across businesses. There's going to be a massive concentration of wealth. Massive, like you're going to see a trillionaire before the 2030s if the economies don't collapse.
Probably multiple ones.
Multiple ones.
So people already can't get their heads around the wealth gap now, which is accelerating. Now it's about to go exponential.
But it's important to understand that people like you and I who worked hard throughout our life, we would become bottom class, like everyone else. Right? Because you're either in that top slot where you're aggregating all of the wealth through your ownership of the automation, okay? Or you're, even if you have millions, you're nobody, right? Now, the interesting side of this is it's quite, everything is a singularity, huh? So from one side, massive aggregation of wealth. From the other side, almost everyone out of a job, okay? And then between those two, you have to question what would happen to economies, right? Because economies today, as we said, are based on consumption, okay? And so if you remove consumption, you basically have no GDP, so the wealth cannot be created. So you have to keep consumption. How do you keep consumption? You reinvent the system, okay, through UBI or whatever. But then there is that ideological, because I hate to say this, but you know what UBI is? Communism. Okay?
You gonna get in trouble for saying that?
I don't know. I'm just telling the world what we're about to face. And that's an interesting ideological conversation that needs to be had. Is the US government, for example, or the British government willing to say, all right, hold on, the machine will make everything and every citizen will get what they want? What was that called? Communism, right? Or are we going to give everyone equal, income, and what was that called? Socialism, right? And by the way, I have no political ideology. I'm someone who chose early in life politics are too complex for me. But these are conversations to be had because they are likely going to take time and jobs are starting to be lost. When is the government going to look at that? And then, so I said, there is a massive redefinition of intelligence, of innovation, that is leading to a massive re-intelligence of economics.
So you worked your whole life, saved some money, maybe thought you were safe. He says it doesn't matter. If you don't own the automation, you're bottom class. And that trillionaire he mentioned, that's not a maybe. It's a certainty. The very system that built everything now has to be scrapped because consumption dies. Let's continue listening.
And what OpenAI did was break a tacit pact that we agreed between us. All the technologists, all is an overkill, but many of the technologists that developed artificial intelligence were completely convinced that we're not sure how this will end up. We know that we're going to develop it because of what I usually call as the first dilemma, right? The fact that we're going to compete, and if Google loses to OpenAI, then they lose their entire business. So Google has to continue to be in the lead, and vice versa, China and America and so on. So we knew that we're going to have to develop it. But the question is, can we at least agree a few guidelines so that it's safe? And the guidelines were very straightforward. Don't put it on the open internet, don't teach it to code, and don't let AIs prompt other AIs. Okay? Guess what? Sam Altman, not a name, but a description of a type of person, sits in front of Congress and says, this is good for humanity. Of course, the one that doesn't sit is the PR guru that sat next to him before that Congress briefing and said, tell them it's amazing. Tell them this is the savior of the world.
Right, and tell them to regulate us.
Yeah, and
beg them to regulate us.
No, but hold on. Say it again, but appear more sincere. Beg them to regulate us. Right. Seriously? Seriously, is this, are we naive enough to believe that a tech company wants to be regulated?
Right. They want to be regulated to keep the smaller players out.
And they want to say, look, we asked you to regulate us if shit hits the fan. Why didn't you? But you want the full truth. There was I think it was a New York Times interview with the head of product of OpenAI, where he openly said, well, you can do what you want. We ask you to regulate us, but you really want to slow us down, and we lose that game to China. Right? So sometimes the truth slips. It's like, oh, we told you to regulate us, but you know better.
And all the while they know the government could never even figure out how to regulate.
100%. They don't even figure out how to regulate the AI if the government tells them to.
Right. Yeah, so they know they're talking to an audience that could really never even do that
It's
task.
a PR stunt.
Even if they all wanted to do it and they all voted and said we're going to make this the single biggest priority of the government, they couldn't really probably do it.
It is the biggest PR stunt on the planet. And of course, which government would want to do that to slow its own progress down when other governments are not doing it?
Right.
So where do we stand? We stand
And
in
those three things you mentioned, which was no agent, no coding, no internet, which were all put in place in early 23,
By
are now
OpenAI.
all gone.
100%.
The current version of OpenAI, of ChatGPT, is connected to the internet, can prompt itself, and can code, basically.
Can code better than anyone.
Right. And
And you know what an AI that's coding is? That's procreation. Okay, when an AI, when a code can write code,
now it can procreate, which should scare people.
which I'm not asking. I'm really, honestly, Brian, I'm really not asking to scare people at all. I'm just asking people to wake up.
Don't put it on the internet, don't let it code, don't let AIs talk to other AIs. Those were the 3 lines nobody was supposed to cross. He says all 3 are gone now, and the part about regulation being a PR stunt, that cuts deep. They go to Congress, beg for rules, knowing full well the government can't even understand the technology, let alone control it. Meanwhile, the machine is now writing its own code, and he calls that procreation. Not development, not advancement, but procreation, guys. Anyways, let's continue.
What's happening is that the speed, Brian, the speed. I've lived in tech my whole life. I've never seen anything go so fast. Okay, and the speed, believe it or not. So everyone's familiar with Moore's law, right? Moore's law doubles processing power every 24 months. If you just compare, Moore's law, Intel 4004 in the early 70s to where we are today, is 50 billion fold increase in processing power. No, it's probably more. It's now one more doubling at least, somewhere around 100 billion.
Wow.
Okay, and that's just on single processing chips. We don't talk about all of the multi-processing and all of the, and we're not even at liberty to discuss what would happen with quantum computing. Okay, and that's doubling every 24 months. AI is doubling every 5.9 months.
5.9, 5.7 is the figure.
5.7, yeah.
So, shockingly fast and probably accelerating.
And probably double exponential, because AI is helping us build better AI. Right. But none of that, again, I keep telling people, nothing wrong with abundant intelligence. Nothing wrong, okay? There is a lot wrong with humanity's value set when this is happening so fast. Why? Because what will end up happening is that we will magnify, we'll put the current system on steroids, right? And the current system is not good, right? Okay? The current system is built in a time of scarcity, where for some to make more, others have to make less, okay? That entirely disappears when you have an abundance of intelligence, right? And I think the more, so I really define them, and I think it's important for people to understand. I call them face RIPs. So the definition, the very definition of 7 dimensions of your life is about to change beyond recognition. And please quote me on this in 3 years' time. Okay, freedom, accountability, human connection, economics, reality, innovation, and power. Okay, and they're easier to understand in pairs, right? So you start with the whole definition of intelligence and innovation is now completely changing, because until a year ago, the most intelligent people could come up with the most innovative solutions. Today, our baseline intelligence compared to the augmentation that AI brings makes everyone capable of doing this. Right? And so there is a complete redefinition of the way things are being made and created. Even complex things like writing code. I'm an early tester of Manus. Oh my God, man! Like this is a team. I used to have a team of 1,000 people doing this stuff. You can simply tell it, hey, can you recreate Airbnb, and poof, just reasons through it and creates it for you. Okay, and people are not aware of that enormous creative possibility, enormous productivity that happens, and the result of that is we all lose our jobs. The result of that is massive economic wealth concentration.
Every 5.9 months, the intelligence doubles. While our governments are still arguing about tariffs, the machine is getting twice as capable. He's talking about the current system being put on steroids, but the system is built on scarcity. So when you supercharge a scarcity mindset with unlimited intelligence, you don't get abundance, you get the old problems on fast forward. And those 7 dimensions he mentioned, all of them, he says they'll be unrecognizable in 3 years. Now hear this.
Right? Add to that, of course, the current response of a trade war across the world and how the economics of the world are going through hyperinflation, or about to go. I don't know. I hope not. Call me an idiot. But then, add all of that complexity, and some response needs to be discussed right now. Governments need to be sitting down and saying, are we going to, have the Fed print money, or is this going to be a form of a tax on the AI companies? What would happen if the AI companies are taxed? Would they move to the UAE and not pay taxes there? It is very, very complex. And that's the easiest one. The more interesting one is the pair of power and freedom. Because, so the way power has always, been concentrated at the top, if you want. It's going to, like we said, with wealth, is going to be massively concentrated, right? Those who control the platform control everything, right? But interestingly, at the same time, there's never been more democracy and proliferation of power in history. Why? Because you and I have access to AI, because you and I have access to CRISPR and biological technologies that can build a virus tomorrow. Open source, by the way. And you and I have access to a tiny little drone that proved very effective in the Ukraine war, or in the Middle East wars.
So capitalism dies because consumption dies. The only fix is some version of socialism or communism. And while governments are paralyzed trying to figure out how to tax AI companies that can just move to Dubai, the real fuse is lit on the power side. Now, Mo Gawdat spent 3 decades inside Google, Microsoft, IBM. He's not an outsider throwing stones. And he just told you that the dystopia already started, that the 3 safety rules are dead, that you and everyone you know are about to become bottom class. If this woke you up even a little, subscribe, because nobody is going to pause this thing for you to catch up.